Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard the Wright Flyer. This is your captain, Randy Wright speaking, and as always, I'm joined on our state-of-the-art radio program by my first officer, Jeremy Graventon. Folks, this will be the final boarding call, so if you please, claim your seats, fasten your seatbelts, kick back, relax, and enjoy the show while Jeremy and I go ahead and delve into the pre-flight checklist, as there really is a lot of news and information to get to before we may fully indulge you with your in-flight entertainment. Well, folks, here we are. It's the day after the first presidential candidate debate in the general election season. And I have to say, it was just a disgusting thing to see. And the reason that I say it's so disgusting is when you think about what was there. You had essentially two leftists going up to a podium to argue about positions that they hardly disagree on, to sit there and throw mud at one another, sling mud at one another, and to not really come up with any type of practicable and real-world solutions. And of course, it's something that we warned would happen if we went down the path that we did. And I think a lot of what is adding fuel to the fire here is after people witnessed Donald Trump's first debate performance in, I don't know how long it's been. It's been quite some time, because Trump essentially just wasn't doing any type of debating. He had gone out and tried to avoid debating with Ted Cruz, if you recall, during the primary process, and it just adds up. It adds up because he's not standing for anything. Just as we knew he wouldn't, just as he never has, it's always been the same thing with him over and over again ad nauseum. And I think that the people are starting to get worried. I think that some of the loudest supporters of Trump during the primary process, who stuck their fingers in their ears and refused to listen to any of us, to any advice, to anyone who had anything bad to say about Trump, and they're now waking up and realizing, oh, crap. This man doesn't know what he's doing. This man doesn't know what he's saying. This man is way in over his head. And of course, that should come as no surprise to anyone. In fact, Jeremy, one of the things that I found the most laughable that I heard of any of the things said on that debate stage at Hofsburg University, I think is what they called it, was that Trump admitted that he didn't prepare for this at all. But then Ted Cruz came out today and said that he thought Trump won the debate. Now, Cruz, being a national debate champion, I would have thought would have known better than that, would have known what a real debate would sound like. But no, that's not what Cruz did. Cruz went out there and said that Trump won the debate because he brought up issues that nobody else brought up, and that is how you win a debate. No, that's not how you win a debate. You win a debate by showing how your policy will work. But there was no policy from Trump. There's never been policy from Trump. And that is one of the biggest complaints I have with his entire candidacy.
I don't know what in the blue hell that Ted Cruz is watching, or anybody else that claims that Trump won the debate last night. Nobody won the debate last night. In fact, everybody in this country that watched it has lost, whether it's IQ points or a little part of their sanity. Watching that debate last night was kind of like watching, I don't know, two little siblings bickering back and forth. Well, Donald stuck his tongue out my ear. That's wrong. I did not. No, I didn't do that. I didn't know. No. Really? Really? What, that's not a debate. That is, we need to have a definition of what a debate is. I mean, I think you defined it quite succinctly. But you know what? There. I'm just going to toss my dictionary aside because we don't need to define it, because that was not a debate. Period. Again, when you have two petulant, little infantile poop units that are standing up there, that are giving big boy and big girl panties to put on to persuade individuals why they are the better of the two choices, which in reality, we know that they're both the same frayed, twisted, moldy thread of the fabric known as Fabianism.
Mm-hmm.
There's no difference between the two of them. But
No.
this is just a dog and pony show. This is what Trump has wanted the whole time. This is what he's done during the whole campaign. He's done nothing but bicker, complain, bitch, moan, and whine about everything. And then, to make it worse for him, he comes back and puts himself up on a pedestal. I've made companies. I've done this. I did this, blah, blah. And Randy, I don't know if you caught it, but he actually said the word bigly.
He
Twice.
said it 3 times.
Three times. I saw it twice. I probably missed the first time he said it because I was just trying to figure out some way of keeping my sanity.
Oh, I know. And when you stop and think about this, to say bigly or to make up these words, how does that come across as presidential? In my mind, it doesn't. But that's the thing. He has never once been presidential, and apparently we don't care about that anymore. Apparently that doesn't mean anything to anyone anymore. And I think that's tragic because it shows that we are tying ourselves down, we're dumbing ourselves down, we're moving away from the elements that are important to each and every one of us on an ideological scale. If you go back to the Lincoln-Douglas debates, if you go back to some of the historical debates that have occurred in this country, they were based on policy. They were based on lofty ideals and philosophy, on political positions and narratives. But not this. This is based off of 2 twisted cults of personality clashing together on a stage and not even going anywhere. And then Trump acted like a buffoon all throughout the debate. Mm-hmm. Interrupting, refusing to go by Lester Holt's thing of having the rules. And Lester Holt, again, we always have to gripe a little bit about the moderators because they're either too proactive or they just throw their hands up in the air and refuse to do anything to bring the debate under control. In other words, this debate was painful. Well, and it was quite clear. Conservatism doesn't have a voice in this race.
Well, no, Lester Holt, or Ass Holt, as I'm going to call him from now on, he was pandering. He would pander which would seemingly look like to Hillary Clinton by not asking her any of the questions, and Trump saying this is I'm not being this again. He whining about stuff, but he was pandering to both sides. He was absolutely pandering to both sides. When he asked the question about racism, why in the blue Farouk is that even a topic or an issue when it comes to the preservation of our republic? Mm-hmm. That issue was settled on December 15th, 1865. Done deal, settled. And if there was any question about that, it was completely laid to rest in 1868 with the ratification of the 14th Amendment. Why is it even being brought up? And I'll tell you why it's being brought up. Because not only is he pandering to the Quaftopian fantasy land, but he's also pandering to the whores of Babylon, Hillary's camp, but he's also pandering to the mainstream media. He's pandering to these rogue domestic terrorists known as Black Lives Matter, the new Black Panther Party, all of these individuals. He's pandering to all of them. Why? To create divisiveness. He is part of the problem. And when you sit there and you have one person part of the problem, projecting and pandering to other pieces of the puzzle that are equal parts of the problem, we have an even larger problem now on our plates. What the hell do we do about this?
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing that we have to do about it is we have to get back to basics. I know that it sounds like we repeat that time and time again, but there really is something to be said for that. Because when you consider that basics in this country goes back to the Constitution, that's what we have to focus on. And I don't know why in this election cycle, both of the two mainstay political parties, I mean, I know why the Democrats do it, they always do it. But the Republican Party, which used to stand for something, or at least used to claim, at least feigned that they stood for something, they don't anymore. All they are is the gutless opposition party. And with Cruz running out there and saying that he would coach Donald Trump to do the debate, I have a suggestion. If you're really going to make him do well on the debates, you need to engage in a lobotomy. Because, first of all, he needs a haircut. Second of all, by doing the lobotomy, you will maybe create a sense of control in him, or at least you can make him docile like Carolyn Kennedy was after her lobotomy. But you notice, progressives are the ones that engage in that sort of thing. That was a progressive family that did that. But we're just offering that because Trump has been a progressive for the vast majority of his 70 years spent on Earth. But Trump went out and mentioned manufacturing moving out of America. He was acting as though this was a new phenomenon. But folks, this isn't a new phenomenon. He didn't mention unions being the problem. Why? Is that not one of the things that should be brought up? Is that not what has helped kill a lot of the Rust Belt manufacturing? The way that the United Auto Workers, just for an example, went and made things worse at the big three? You know, we have to think about these things in a logical fashion, in a coherent fashion. But that is not what we saw on that debate stage. That debate was just more of a dog and pony show. It was just more of trying to turn news and information into sheer entertainment, like some poorly scripted reality television program. That's the problem, is that we are finding that our entire electoral process is being made into a sham of itself. It is only a shell of its former glory, and that is due, thanks in no small part, to the whining sycophants that went out there and championed Trump, never once asking a good question that Chris Hamburger Christie came up with. You know, Trump says all of these grandiose things. He makes all of these largesse-type promises of creating largesse, but he doesn't tell you how. He doesn't tell you how he's going to do it. Oh, okay, I'm going to build a wall. It's actually surprised I didn't hear him, or at least I don't recall hearing him mention the wall during the debate. He didn't say how. Yeah, I'm going to make Mexico pay for the wall. How? Nobody asks how. And then when they do try and ask how, he won't answer. He just goes up and gives his stump speech that has become so repetitive, so monotonous that we know it. I'm going to build a wall. It's going to be great. I do this. I do that. I'm wonderful. Everybody loves my hair. Screw that. Because it doesn't tell us a damn bit about how you're going to follow the Constitution, how you're going to stand up for the country, how you are going to ensure that the true ultimate wielders of popular sovereignty in this once thriving and flourishing representative republic of ours will be unleashed so that they can go forth and build upon what is necessary to place this nation back onto the path to prosperity. We've got to stop looking for the messianic figures. And that's what these, I can't even call it a debate. Let's call it a pageant, the candidates pageant. That's what it is. We have the candidates pageant, and they're out there standing behind the podium, making complete and utter fools and asses of themselves. And it doesn't bring us any information as to how they will govern, as to how they are fit to govern, as to how this nation can recover, or how they will empower the people to do what is necessary to make the nation recover.
You just gave me a brilliant idea, Randy. If these if these sycophantic winebags want entertainment, well, let's just look at the kind of entertainment that people flood their lives with now. Shows like The Voice. You have what, 4 judges, musicians themselves, all sitting in a giant chair that rotates, and they all have their backs to the particular contestant. And when they like what they hear, they hit a big buzzer, and the chair spins around 180 degrees, and they just start cheering for them, pom-poms, whatever the case is. And then they argue amongst themselves, the judges there, on who's trying to vie for the accolation of that contestant to pick one of them to be their coach, to coach them into a career. Here's my idea. Next debate, let's have, since Ted Cruz wants to coach Donald Trump, we'll have him as one of the moderators. We can go ahead and bring back Assholt. And just for grins and giggles, let's bring in Rosie O'Donnell. Just to make it that much more entertaining for people, because why? Obviously, this is what they're wanting. This is what they want.
Bleach. My mind's eye needs bleach already.
This is what they are screaming for when they are cheering for and supporting this, instead of thinking for themselves and wanting to take the responsibility or owning up to the responsibility and duty that has been given to us all at birth, that of preserving and protecting and solidifying forevermore in our future generations of posterity our republic. But they would rather see something like that. They would rather see 2 imbecilic, petulant children playing slap and tickle on a national stage, hurling insults at each other, rebuffing each other, rolling their eyes, forcing fake laughter, interrupting each other. Really? This is what the American people want. If that's the case, then Randy, I say it's time that, we need to follow the Declaration of Independence, those timeless words in there.
Yeah. I mean, it is putting us in an untenable situation. And it shows us that the lowest common denominator has dropped below the proverbial mud. But the whole thing is, when they went out there, the spectacle was just interesting. It's something that I've heard some of the pundits mention. It's that Donald Trump has to feed off of an audience. That's the only time that he's dynamic or has any type of magnetism behind him. And I think there is some truth to that. He's like a leech. He leeches off of the spiritual energy, for lack of a better term, of the audience members who are present. And of course, it's disgusting to see that, because again, it's as though we are being plunged back into The Apprentice. But I do have a little bit of the audio from that debate last evening, and I'm going to pull it up here so that we can hear some of the exchange from that early part, just to give people who may not have seen it an insight into what happened. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to that now for a moment.
Of this campaign tonight, but I remind everyone there are 2 more presidential debates scheduled. We are going to focus on many of the issues that voters tell us are most important, and we're going to press for specifics. I am honored to have this role, but this evening belongs to the candidates and just as important to the American people. Candidates, we look forward to hearing you articulate your policies and
What policies?
And your values. So, let's begin. We're calling this opening segment Achieving Prosperity. And there are 2 economic realities in America today. There's been a record 6 straight years of job growth, and new census numbers show incomes have increased at a record rate after years of stagnation. However, income inequality remains significant, and nearly half of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Beginning with you, Secretary Clinton, why are you a better choice than your opponent to create the kinds of jobs that will put more money into the pockets of American workers?
Well, thank you, Lester, and thanks to Hofstra for hosting us. The central question in this election is really, what kind of country we want to be and what kind of future we'll build together. Today is my granddaughter's second birthday.
Who cares? Who cares about her granddaughter's second birthday? Who frickin' cares? No, the question about this election, the question that should be on the minds of everyone is, how are we going to get back to the Constitution? How are we going to secure our nation while staying true to the clear and concise language contained within the four corners of our shared United States Constitution? How are we going to ensure that Islamo-fascist terrorists are not able to move forth in our country while also preserving those fundamental and inalienable God-given rights of the popular sovereigns? Those are the questions. But these questions were not asked. And if they were asked, are we going to have to listen through her talking about it's her daughter's second birthday and she blew a snot bubble and maybe somebody ran down the park and let go of a balloon? Why are we listening to this asinine garbage?
It's because the people, this is what the people want. Remember, Lester Assholt said, these are the issues that the voting public has, posed to us, that's on their minds, that's important to them. Really? So it's important to the American people that the 2-year-old granddaughter of the Fabian whore of Babylon is, finally realized how to utilize her digits on her opposing appendages to cram them up her nose. Really?
Oh, yeah.
It's like you said, this is the core question. And we've been asking this question. We've been putting this out there for over a year. Again, where does the Constitution fit in with all of this? A lot of people say, well, it's antiquated and it's obsolete and blah, blah, blah. Then you have no right to speak. Because when you say something like that, when you say you want to disparage the Constitution, the very thing that affords you the right to say those things, and you want to do away with the Constitution, the people that are all for that and support that, or support candidates who see no value in the Constitution or want to sit here and twist it and try to redefine it and interpret it, you're biting the hand that feeds you. And guess what happens? Eventually, you bite that hand clean off, and it's no longer there to feed you, which means you have nothing.
Well, yeah. Now that we've heard Madam Clinton, let's hear how this great prognosticator and pontiff of conservative values, this paragon of perfect hair and perfect conservatism, performed. Here we go.
It's about putting more money into the pockets of American workers. You have up to 2 minutes.
Thank you, Lester. Our jobs are fleeing the country. They're going to Mexico. They're going to many other countries. You look at what China is doing to our country in terms of making our product. They're devaluing their currency, and there's nobody in our government to fight them. And we have a very good fight, and we have a winning fight, because they're using our country as a piggy bank to rebuild China, and many other countries are doing the same thing. So we're losing our good.
China piggy bank.
It's happening in Mexico. A friend of mine who builds plants said it's the 8th wonder of the world. They're building some of the biggest plants anywhere in the world, some of the most sophisticated, some of the best plants. With the United States, as he said, not so much.
Wait a minute. What is his friend doing building plants in Mexico? I thought that the mafioso quafioso was all about making America great again. I thought that he was all about things made in America, it being better in America, great in America, except for the fact that 2 of his 3 wives are not made in America. They're made in former Soviet bloc countries. I guess that doesn't follow. But look, what he's doing there is he's once again obfuscating the truth. He's not even answering the question. How are you going to make the jobs better in America? Don't tell me about what your stupid friend is doing in Mexico. Nobody cares. Your friend can go buy lollipops for Madam Clinton's little 2-year-old granddaughter spitting up the snot bubble over there. Nobody cares. Either you tell us what you are going to do policy-wise or shut your mouth. Nobody cares. And I'm damn sick and tired of hearing this same drivel over and over again because it's not telling us anything. Again, a debate, its entire purpose is to give you some greater insight into what the candidate's thinking and into what the candidate will do, whether it be policy-wise, whether it be legal-wise, whether it be a mandate that they claim to have. Well, if he claims to have a mandate, what is the mandate? The alt-right? Is that what it is? Are we going to sit there and goose step down the cobblestones, sitting there seed quaff Heil? I don't think so. This is terrible. It's terrible because he's out there and he's making her look more intelligent because at least the granddaughter is related to Hillary. At least she has some connection other than, oh, my friend who goes down and builds in Mexico, and believe me, everybody in Mexico loves me because I build wonderful things. I got here. Shut up. Why do you have to trail off on all of this nonsense? He doesn't have a coherent thought. He doesn't even understand how to do a sentence, how to structure or form or speak a coherent sentence.
Randy, remember several episodes back? Well, let's go several months back. Okay. Remember when I brought up the fact that Trump cannot defeat Hillary in a debate, and I explained why. Because and this is prophetic. I said that Hillary doesn't even have to talk about the issues. She doesn't even have to talk about the issues that Americans are really concerned about. All she has to do is make him look stupid. And to her credit, she did that last night. Not that he needed any help or she needed any help from him. He was looking like an imbecilic fool.
He is an imbecilic fool. That is what he is. That's what he does. It's all he knows how to do.
But he's tremendous.
He's not. Oh, well, he's bigly, like he said 3 times. I mean, where in the Oxford Dictionary is the damn word bigly? I've never seen it.
I don't know.
You don't use bigly as a goddamn ly adverb. You don't.
Yeah, but the whole thing is, again, he obfuscates and ducks and dodges from the question at hand. Not one single question was he able to answer, or did he even attempt to answer. All he did was try and be flamboyant about things, especially when he was pressed about his tax returns. Now, he said, I'll against my lawyer's advice, in their wishes, I'll release my tax returns. But when she releases the 33,000 emails that she deleted, well, here's the problem.
You know what that means? That means he's never going to release it.
Do it because you cannot release something that has been deleted. If it's gone, and if our own infrastructure, our own intelligence agencies cannot retrieve those emails, whether they want to or not, experts are saying that they're never going to know what those emails are because they're unretrievable. So how is it possible he has no intentions of releasing his tax returns? Why? Because he thinks he's above the law. And he said so much is so when he, again, remember, he threw this right back in the face of people. During the primaries, when he was asked about all these lawsuits, he said, I never settled out of court. I don't settle because I don't lose. But last night, when pressed on the lawsuit that faced him, he made a bunch of excuses. It wasn't just me. It was hundreds of thousands of real estate companies all across the country. It was a federal lawsuit, but we all settled, and I settled with no guilty conscience, meaning that, hey, I got away with just paying these people off, and you know what? I don't feel a damn bit bad about it. I have no conscience about it whatsoever, no remorse, because I got away with it, because I'm above the law. That's the message that he sent out last night. Now, it's unfortunate that the people that still bow at the Quaff altar seem to think that, oh, he can do no bad. People like Sean Hannity, Rudy Giuliani. Really? Yeah, are you that mundane and so out of touch with the reality that you allow this crap to change your eye color from whatever it was to crap brown, all because you think he can do it all? See, they truly believe he is the messianic figure. They've already crossed over that threshold. They're no longer looking for one. They believe they've found him. They have went into Trump Towers, into the gold-plated bathtubs, and took their gold-plated teacups and dipped it into the Quaffade and drank it whole.
Well, yeah, and now you got to see the way he looks. I'm going to try just a little thing here. Switch back over to the sound bite, and then we'll get him going. Here we go.
Ford is leaving. You see that, their small car division leaving. Thousands of jobs, leaving Michigan, leaving Ohio. They're all leaving. And we can't allow it to happen anymore. As far as child care is concerned and so many other things, I think Hillary and I agree on that. We probably disagree a little bit as to...
So you see there, he's already trying to say child care, all of that crap, to where it's just going to be, oh, we're going to have the state pay for this, the state's going to do this, the government. I thought that the Republican Party was supposed to be the party of smaller government. I thought that the Republican Party was the one that was supposed to go off of our traditions, our values, our institutions, those things that make us great. And, you know, if we're going to go by that stupid little platitude of his, of make America great again, how are you going to do that by mandatory increases or a federal mandatory increased minimum wage? Now they sit there and they're sitting there talking about all of these new jobs, all of the income improving. I've not seen it. And you can certainly go to any of your corner drugstores or any of your grocery stores or anywhere in this country and see that prices have not improved. In fact, they're going up. And take-home pay has not kept up with the rate of inflation. And Lester Holt was just disingenuous when he tried to skew the numbers at the very beginning there, where he was sitting there saying essentially that, well, yeah, it's been bad over the past 6 years, but it's really improved now, and things are better. Where is it better? Where have we seen it being better? I haven't seen it be better. I haven't seen anyone in this area perform better financially. In fact, I've seen the exact opposite. But that's the thing. They are, once again, embracing a false narrative. They are pushing a false narrative to bamboozle us. We might as well just sit there and grab a six-pack and sit at home drinking all the time because Uncle Sam is going to take care of us as a present from Uncle Donnie and Auntie Hillary. Give me an ever-loving break.
Well, here's the thing, and I don't know if anybody else has noticed it, and I'm sure you may have noticed it as well. If not, you'll realize it right here.
Oh, yeah.
All those false numbers that ass Holt did, all that conjecture, all that false narrative that he pushed, they came back. Both Uncle Donnie and Auntie Whore of Babylon came back, and both of them have said, in fact, Hillary said something to the effect of, in order to move forward or to have true progress, we cannot go back to the policies that got us here in this situation in the first place. We have to change those policies. She was talking about the policies under George W. Bush and Barack Obama because she mentioned both of them by name. But yet things are getting better, but both her and Donnie acknowledged that, and then they turned right around and said, well, it's failed policies, it's failed this, it's failed that. So which is it? Is it things are improving, or have things never improved and they're actually getting worse, and you just want to make things even that much more worse because you're dumbing down the American people? What is it?
Well, it's that. It is that they're making it worse. And, Trump has been amenable to all of this. Hillary's been amenable to spreading all of this, making the government solve everything. Of course things are better, is what they're saying. Why? Because we're using more government. But we need to make them better by abandoning the policies of the past to do what? Embrace more government. Wait, isn't that repeating the same thing over and over again ad nauseum, expecting a different result or outcome? That is insanity. Yes, it is. And then Clinton attacked Trump on receiving a loan from his father. Well, Trump walked into that one. Trump walked into that one because he said, well, my daddy gave me a smally loan, and I built a tower from that, and everybody loved it. Again, nothing of substance, nothing of value. And that leaves us in this untenable situation. And he sounded like a robot to me anyway throughout that whole damn thing. Because again, he didn't know what to do. Because by his own admission, he hadn't prepared for the debate. Why would you go out in front of the cameras of the media for a debate on the national stage, in fact, on an international stage, because the rest of the world's sitting there laughing at us, unprepared? Why would you do that? Who in their right mind would do that? Who worth their salt would do that? Nobody. Nobody.
Well, Randy, you and I, for doing the shows, we have show preparation.
Oh, yes, we do.
We prepare for all of this. Now, I know, folks, you can't see my radio face, and that's probably a good thing. And you can't see anything I have in front of me, but I'm going to tell you right now, I don't have notes in front of me. Okay? Very rarely do I have anything jotted down. I do this off the cuff. But don't think that I don't prepare for it. I prepare for this because, part of my preparation for the show tonight was I watched the debate. As much as my stomach hurt and I wanted to gouge out my eyeballs with a giant prickly pear cactus and shove tire irons into my eardrums, piercing them sideways, afterwards, I suffered through all of that for this. We prepare for our shows. We have our own way of preparing for the shows. Trump was completely unprepared, especially when Hillary brought up his tax returns. Again, she wanted to know she said, what are you hiding? And she went through a litany of plausibilities and possible reasons for him hiding his tax returns. Is he not as wealthy as he's claiming? Is he got donations that he's claimed he's made but really aren't there? Does he owe money? And then she kind of tried to stick with that one. One that she did not mention that we brought to the forefront here on Radio Aviation Excellence, the Wright Flyer, is where has his money gone to? Whose pockets did his money go into?
Putin's.
I think if he was to release his tax returns, this is why he doesn't want to do it, is because the individuals that he has put money with, invested with, hey, I'm a businessman, it's investment, I did it, I did these things for for my family, I did it because, it's what businessmen do, and I was protected. He tried to be magnanimous about it and give this false bullcrap excuse of, I'm a businessman, I did what was best for my family, put food on the table and this and that. bovine excrement.
Yeah.
You are
It all
hiding.
went to Russia.
It all went to Russia. That is what she didn't bring up. Why? I wonder why she didn't bring that up. Because I think if she
I think
did,
you know.
I think I know exactly why. Because if she would have brought that up, he would have came back with Russia, because he made that attempt of trying to put the blame on somebody for hacking the DNC servers and for the primaries and all this other stuff. If I was Hillary Clinton, I would have brought that up because it would have forced him to name the individuals that he has already named in the beginning to do that has done this. He already claimed and placed the blame on Russia for doing it. Then he tried to backpedal and do all of this other crap by saying, well, we don't know who it was really, blah, blah. So, okay, you made the claim and now you're backpedaling so you don't know who it is? So it seems like you're unsure of that. I don't want someone who is unsure of what they say to run this country. I sure as hell don't want somebody who is as boisterous as Hillary is and devious and patient as she is with working a Fabian agenda to run this country. Folks, if you haven't realized, we don't want either one of them. And again, I had a conversation with an individual today. He asked me about the debates, if I watched them, and I told him it was a bunch of crap, for Trump's a fraud, Hillary's a fraud, so on and so forth. And when it came down to how we're going to vote, this individual, he says, well, I'm just going to write in Lincoln. And I'm like, okay. He says, let's face it, if we have to choose a dictator, he says, might as well choose the best dictator, the one that's already dead.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'd accept any of them. I'd accept Pol Pot. I'd accept
sure
Joe Stalin, Hitler. I mean,
we would have a better chance of having a dead dictator run this country than we would with either of those two clowns.
Oh, I know.
Clowns. So it's just, again, this whole thing, they go back and forth. They're petulant little children. He stuck his tongue out at me. No, he didn't. Stop touching me. I'm not touching you. Just shut up. Just go away and be done with it. Get the hell out of the way and let we the people fix our country.
It's a schoolyard fight. It's not anything to do with policies. Whatever happened to policies? What was a Lincoln-Douglas debate? It was known as policies. Since you brought up the dictator, we'll fall on that.
Sure.
I've got a new debate type. I've got a great new debate type. In fact, we've mentioned it before.
Yes, we have, and I love it.
It's time for a Burr-Hamilton style debate. Recall that Alexander Hamilton did not get along with Vice President of Thomas Jefferson, Aaron Burr. They decided to settle their differences on the field of honor. They dueled, and Hamilton lost. Isn't that amazing? It was done in a matter of minutes. I think it would save us a lot of time. It'd certainly save us a lot of money. And one of the one of the two least popular candidates in all history would be history. Wouldn't that be nice? I mean, I'm saying this tongue in cheek, but heavens.
It would be as you said before, Randy, the most patriotic thing that Alexander Hamilton did for his country was to lose a duel.
It was.
These two asshats sit here going, oh, we're patriotic. They want to talk about patriotism and this and that. Break out the dueling pistols.
I know.
Prove your patriotism.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's literally come down to that point. Now, I'm all for this. I'm all for this, Randy, and I think that should be made the third debate. Let's give the people what they want with their revolving spinning chairs and staples buttoned where, it's easy, just hit the red button and you can spin around and convince them to coach. And then maybe, just maybe, those three moderators, Rosie, Mr. Cruz, and Assholt, maybe they can stand on the sidelines and, I don't know, coach either one of the other two candidates, or we can even pull a selection from an internet poll that I saw on Facebook regarding the moderation of the debate. and it says, who would have done a better job at the debate, or who did the best job at the debate, or would do a better job at the debate? A, Lester Holt. B, Bozo the Clown. Or C, a drunkard.
I'd go with the drunkard.
I want to add an option D. How about the individual at the Lincoln Burr debate that presented the pistols to both
the Burr-Hamilton debate? Yeah, the second. You have to have a second there. Yeah.
Yes.
And the second should be given orders to shoot down whoever wins the debate, too, as their prize. Okay. I mean, that's how... I mean, it's literally what this entire debate has come down to. It's what our entire system of polity has come to. Clinton was sitting there whining and complaining about trickle-down economics, but with this, we're now up the trickle up the leg type of debate of little Chrissy Matthews. Yeah, I wonder what tingles he's getting now from all of this. I wonder what tingly feeling he's getting from all of this. This just is beyond the pale. And we're having to laugh about this because it is so maddening. People are literally frightened of both of these candidates. They just don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn. They don't know what's coming down the pike for the country. The turnpike is up ahead, and we're lost. We're lost. We're running on empty, and oh, by the way, the engine probably caught on fire too. That's just what it feels like. And so when we have betrayal, and when we have somebody who can't even form a coherent sentence going against the witch, it's unfathomable, because she is prepared. She didn't even have to lift a finger. She was not even putting forth an effort. She didn't have to, because this guy has the IQ of a vegetable.
Well, I've mentioned this before. His intellectual capacity is equivalent to the ovulation cycle of a gnat. Mm-hmm. It really is. And and again, I said this would happen. We both had said this would happen. We said this several months ago. This will happen. We've told individuals what's going to happen. And Randy, I know I could see the looming fate that's going to be dropped like a curtain of death on this country come November on Election Day. Hillary Clinton is going to win the election. Mm-hmm. Simply because of Trump. And I say simply because of Trump, but I'm going to put 95% of the blame squarely on his shoulders for the simple reason he decided to run. And when he decided to run, he decided that he's going to make a mockery of our electoral process and our republic. He doesn't care about this country. He never has. He never will. He doesn't care about the electoral process. This is nothing more than a fast-moving, very bad, non-stop, continuous loop QVC infomercial selling earwax removal kits. That don't work.
No, I know. Of course they don't work. They're Trump products. I mean, Trump shuttle didn't work. Trump shampoo, I'm sure, won't work. Trump vodka steaks failed. Trump steaks, all of it. But here's one of the things. Going back to what Lester Holt said there about how they were going to be covering the topics that Americans care about. Great. Hilda attacked Donnie on the hoax of man-made glow bull. Let me spell that for you folks. GLOBULL warming. Global warming. Folks, I can't tell you how sick and tired I am of hearing this crap. Why do we preoccupy ourselves with fairy tales bent on nonsensical pseudoscience? That's what this election has come to? Clinton said she thinks the science is real. Yeah, folks, she thinks the science is real. Guess what? I think the Easter Bunny comes down our faruking chimneys on Christmas Day. So, moving along, she then tried to focus on another fake thing. Clean energy. Yes, give me an ever-loving break. Clean energy sounds as real as the tooth fairy on PCP. And Trump jumps on the Me Too bandwagon, saying that his company has invested in solar panels. Which company is that, Trump? Seeing as it's a failed one, is its name Solyndra?
Yeah. Or is it maybe one of the companies that he, I don't know, invested in overseas?
Oh, yeah, I'm
maybe
sure.
Maybe it was his friend's company that's invested overseas.
In Mexico,
Going back to his friend whose company is overseas and had to go overseas because all these regulations and blah, blah, this, that. Why don't you tell your friend to close up shop over there and set up shop here? I'm sure you could probably persuade the federal courts to, swindle some land for you through eminent domain to where, to where he could set that up, to make America great again, so to speak, as you like to say, which that phrase still is one of the most idiotic and moronic things anybody could have ever said. It's kind of like, equivalent to illegal immigration. which again, we have individuals, and I watched a clip from Judge Janine.
Is she still alive? I guess so.
She's still, not only her, but all the talking heads, they keep saying this term illegal immigration. Folks, illegal immigration does not exist. You cannot illegally do something that is by the book and legal. You cannot do it. It's impossible.
I'm going to legally lynch someone. I'm going to
legally do whatever crime it is that I want to do.
Well, you know what looting is. It's just undocumented shopping.
You know what, folks? I think, Randy, we need to make that a bumper sticker for our Cafe Press account. What do you say?
We do. I think so. But again, what all of this does is just shows us how far detached we are from reality. When we've got all sorts of crap going on in the Middle East, when we've got these Islamo-fascist barbarians attempting to blow themselves up here or to blow up trash cans and to use pressure cookers to do that. I mean, I guess they're trying to make it the Ayatollah Colonel Sanders now with all of this sort of stuff. It just... To talk about global warming makes no sense until you think back to, oh, that's right. Global warming causes terrorism. That's what they think, and that's what they do. But instead of sitting there and saying that the science isn't so, that it's not something that is important, Trump is sitting there talking about the solar panels. He's sitting there saying that he wants to spread clean energy, that he supports all energy. Good God, who the hell cares? Solyndra was about solar panels. It was about squandering taxpayer money, too. That's what I saw throughout this entire debate. Both of them wanted to squander taxpayer money, and that is what it comes down to. It's not about sound policy. It's not about limited government. It's not about any of the things that we hold near and dear. It's just about pandering and bickering like schoolyard idiots over nothing of great importance. Why?
But wait, folks, there's more.
There's more.
Of course. There's always more. Then they moved on to the birther issue, the conspiracy of all conspiracies. And they sat there, went back and forth, bickering, arguing. You started. No, I did not. Yes, you did. Wrong. I never said that. Blah, blah. Shut up, Donnie. Shut up, Donnie. It reminds me that video clip I put up on my Facebook page, a mashup of The Big Lebowski, John Goodman's character. I think his name was Walter. Yes. Shut up, Donnie. And just over and over. Donnie, shut Farouk up. Here's the thing. Folks, I hate to burst anybody's bubble, and this is the fact. This is because, why? This is the law. Okay? Title 8 U.S. Code, Section 1401. Okay? And what I'm going to try and do here, folks, is I'm going to try and show you this. It's going to be bigly, okay? It just very bigly. Let me see if I can figure out how to do this. Here we go. 1 second here. Let's see. Where is it? I can't find it. I don't know what's going on.
Green button on your left.
Green button on my left. Let's see. Presenting to everyone. What am I presenting here?
Share.
Yeah, I'm looking. It's not there. Folks, you're going to have to bear with me for just a second longer. Anyways, I can't find it. It's not functioning for me, probably because, I don't know, it just stopped. Maybe it was deleted by some DNC server in a Russian hack. I don't know. But, folks, anyways, the law is there. Title 8 U.S. Code, Section 1401, Part E, says the following shall be nationals and citizens of the United States at birth, meaning natural-born citizen. And there's 8 of them. If one of these 8 points is met, that means that the individual is a natural-born citizen. Parts D and E, points D and E both say, for the most part, a person born in any outlying possession in the United States of parents, one of whom is a citizen of the United States, Barack Obama's mother was a citizen, who has been physically present in the United States or one of its outlying possessions for a continuous period of 1 year at any time prior to the birth of such person. Now, we know she went to Indonesia and Kenya and all these other places with Barack Sr., and, wore burqa and all this other nonsense and whatnot. But in order for that to be invalid, that means she would have had to have been born here in the United States and moved before 1 full calendar year has passed and never have come back. That never happened. So
Nope.
He was born here, and he is a natural-born citizen, making him qualified to, in that aspect of the Constitution, to be elected as president. Hillary Clinton set out her hound, Smithers, named Philip Berg, to file a lawsuit challenging his legitimacy of being a natural-born citizen. She started all of this. Donald Trump took it and ran with it. And then they sit there and bicker about, well, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. They're both trying to pass the buck off to each other when they're both complicit in it.
I would tell them to go sniff glue, but I don't think there's a brain cell left among them that would be useful.
An individual sniffing glue on that stage would have had more brain cells than them.
It certainly would have been a better debate.
Absolutely.
We would have seen things come to fruition. But look, this debate should prove once and for all that Trump and Clinton are basically the same pond scum. Yes, Hillary speaks better than Trump, but so do my dead grandparents. The binary thing I see here, folks, is that both of these candidates are utter garbage. Look, if you feel you have to vote for Trump, then do it. If you feel you have to vote for Hillary, do it. But know this, the only thing that matters is the Constitution. That's what guides us and keeps us free. Neither one of these lunatics support it. I don't care how close this race is. Neither of these candidates, nor have any of the third-party candidates, won my vote. Why? Because they cannot articulate how they will do these things that they claim to do within the purview of the supreme law of the land and pursuant to Article 6, Clause 2, that is our Constitution. Why is nobody talking about the Constitution? We know that Hillary Clinton knows what's in it. She knows what's in it because she tries to use it to destroy itself. We know Trump doesn't know what's in it because instead of learning how to read when he was in grade school, he was busy eating glue. Gary Johnson has forgotten how to read because he's been smoking so much pot that his brain cells all fizzled out a long time ago. So where does that leave us? Jill Stein? She can't even fly to the right city. Maybe a better debate would be to take these people and see how much they can be like, oh, I don't know, Houdini. chain them up in a plane, and kick them out over the ocean and see how well they swim.
Well, then our flight attendant's going to sue us for, equal pay and all this other stuff. So it's just, yeah. I bring back the chains and the padlocks and dunk tanks. I think that was one of Houdini's greatest accomplishments. But it's sickening. It's maddening. And folks, it may seem that we're making light of this, but we only do so for the preservation of our own sanity as well as yours. Okay?
Yeah.
It's preposterous and Randy, you mentioned that they didn't even bring up the Constitution. Now, I find it very weird that they're having a presidential debate and the backdrop behind them happens to be enlarged verses of the Declaration of Independence, of which obviously preceded our Constitution, which was one of the documents that was used in framing our Constitution, is very illiterate throughout the Constitution. It's a literary work of art, but yet they don't even mention anything with regard to that. They mentioned something about Hillary, said something about protecting the rights of people, this and that, when they brought up all this gun violence. Now, I have to give Trump credit here for bringing up Chicago. I have to give him a little bit of credit. We'll give credit where credit's due. However, all that credit went out the window when he started to agree with Clinton on this.
Mm-hmm.
Donnie.
He even went out and said that she agreed. Maybe for political reasons you can't agree with me. I don't know. I sniff glue.
Donnie, shut up, Donnie.
Yeah, shut up, Donnie. Yeah.
Here's the thing, Donnie. Here's the thing.
The loss of due process with that no fly, no buy, and if you mention due process, we cry bill, that drove me nuts. It has already been explained how that is violative of the due process clauses. Folks, what is due process? It's very simple. Procedural due process is that you get notice and a hearing before you can have any right taken away. And so when you are put on this terrorist no-fly list, there is no court proceeding. You are not given notice. You are not given a hearing. The only time that you discover that you're on it is when you try and go and exercise your right. And it is denied you. And that is not acceptable. It goes against all of the natural law tenets that underpin our Constitution. And Donnie agreed with her. And then Donnie even went so far as to say that in a stop and frisk, if it was warrantless, just seize the gun. Well, what if they're a law-abiding citizen who has the license for the gun and you're just seizing it because you're stopping and frisking them? That's wrong. That's violative of the law. We have to stop and actually think about the consequences and results of actions. Now, maybe it's good intentions that they're trying to use here by engaging in trying to say that a Terry stop, because stop and frisk comes from that case of Terry v. Ohio, to keep us safe. Except the road to hell is paved in good intentions. Let's take, for example, how they have all of this NSA stuff, where they can watch us, where they don't need to use the Fourth Amendment to search anything. In fact, the Supreme Court says they can basically now just search any device at any given time. Mm-hmm. With all of that, did it stop the Tsarnaevs? No.
Did it stop?
Were they known to the FBI? Yes, they were known. Did it stop the Farouks? No. Did it stop this most recent guy in New York? No. Was he known? Yes. Why was he not stopped? Well, it's a combination of things. You've got political correctness and moral relativism. And then on top of that, you've got this information overload on the part of the federal government. And then the TSA, don't get me started on that joke.
Yeah. We haven't mentioned them in a long time, and I think it's long overdue. But we'll just wait just a little bit longer. But see, here's the thing. That incident in New York, wasn't that a stabbing? Am I thinking of that one? Or
No. You're thinking of Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. Okay. Well,
or
this
Minnesota or wherever the hell it was. Yeah. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Wisconsin, I think. But wherever the case was, the recent stabbing, where I think there was, 4 or 5 people.
It was in Minnesota, one of the M states. Okay. But
point is, did that work there? No. All these same factors that you mentioned, were they applied? Yes. Were they applicable? Yes. Did it work? No. And you know what? He used a knife. He didn't even have a firearm. Now, here's the big thing, Randy. You and I have talked about this, and we agree on this absolutely unequivocally. When you have an individual who is convicted of a crime, and they've gone through the entire due process, the notice of hearing, the hearing itself, and the adjudication in the court, and they've done their time, they were sentenced, and they've done their time and paid their penance to society, these individuals are still looked at by the court of public opinion as being criminals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is where rehabilitation fails, because rehabilitation does not remove that aspect of it. They allow it to happen. Why? Again, because of moral relativism and political correctness. Now, I'm going to go to this no-fly, no-buy, don't ask us and we'll cry type legislation. What is stopping them from, again, completely throwing due process right out the window? You're on the no-fly list, so you're not allowed to buy a gun. Well, why are you on the no-fly list? Oh, because they deemed it necessary for you to be on the no-fly list. Why? Where was your notice of hearing? Oh, well, you spoke out against the federal government. We didn't like what you had to say about the candidates or the president, so we put you on the no-fly list because we think you might be a danger to someone or yourself. So there's no adjudication, there's no due process, and now you have individuals who, like you mentioned, have no knowledge of even being labeled as, and that's what they are, they're being labeled as a criminal in the court of public opinion. Well, you're on the no-fly list. You must have done something wrong. The speculation and conjecture becomes rampant. And then you have individual citizens who are law-abiding citizens, have never broken the law, and are deprived of their due process rights, all because of this. And then they're put through the system and kept in the system. Again, this is actually no different than welfare. Once you get people on welfare and you condition them to believing that that's all that they're going to know in life, that's all they're going to strive for. When you have a criminal that's in the criminal justice system who's been adjudicated, paid their penance to society, but you're conditioning them to and labeling them to say, you're a criminal, once a criminal, always a criminal, what do you think that person's going to do? Their morale and their self-esteem is going to diminish and erode away, and they're going to start to believe that that is the only life that they have, and so they're going to continue to do criminal activities.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. It's that these people that are pushing for government being the answer to everything, like Trump was, like Hillary was, it always becomes that way. Why? Because it's a way of forcing people to be stuck on the government or in the governmental systems, such as the penitentiary. In fact, Hillary even mentioned that she wants private companies out of the federal prison business.
She wants gulags.
Yeah, exactly so.
She wants gulags.
Exactly so. Exactly so. And she wants them out of the state system, too. Well, here's the problem, Aunt Hildy. The states have plenary power. Why? Because based on the natural order of things, what we call the natural law, I know you don't quite understand that. You're too busy running from sniper fire in Serbia still in your mind. It means that the states, being closer to the people, have near absolute power. They're not limited to the same degree that the federal government is. However, Everyone is limited to the Bill of Rights. Why? Because the Bill of Rights, pursuant to Article 5 and to the preamble of the Bill of Rights, applies to the federal government and is part of the Constitution as though it were originally part of the Constitution, and the states agreed to be bound by it by what? Ratifying them. Isn't that amazing? Isn't it amazing that a contract would be binding to all parties? Duh. This isn't rocket surgery, folks. You don't need Dr. Ben, I need a fresh suit, I'm a victim, Carson, to figure this out. Maybe he can go to Alaska and find some socks with Sarah the Big Wheel Palin. I don't know. But here's the thing. When you try to rely on government to provide everything, you are abandoning that which makes this nation great. So how can Trump say, make America great again, when he's doing everything that is the exact and polar opposite of how our founding fathers would have run this country, how our founding fathers expected this country to be run? You see, that is a question that debate moderators should be asking, but they're not. They're not, because in their mind, the things people care about are global warming, whether Trump supported the Iraq War in the beginning, whether Billy Bob Clinton had done the things that caused the bubble to burst. All of this crap is irrelevant. It's bread and circuses for no good reason.
Let's throw one more issue in there that the American people care about that really has nothing to do with anything in the grand scheme of things. Again, because without the Constitution being followed, it doesn't matter. The economy. Randy, as long as you can remember, I know as long as I can remember, it seems that every single presidential election has been, the forefront of it is money, the economy. Folks, the economy is a figment of your imagination. I'm going to tell you this right now. It will hold more weight as a figment of your imagination should the Constitution remain to be unfollowed and not adhered to, because it doesn't mean anything. What good is having an economy, a strong economy, where people are flourishing, being able to afford the things, not having to rely on the government so much as it would seem, in theory at that point, if you have a government that is willing to and working on eroding away and stripping you of every single inalienable right that you possess? You can have all the money in the world. You can have the best job, the bigliest of bigly houses, the fastliest of fastly cars, the floatiest of floatiest boats. You can have all of those things. This is what people want. It's all materialism, is what it boils down to. It's idolatry. If you want to get biblical about this, it's idolatry. It truly is. Believe me, when I say it's idolatry, it's tremendously like idolatry. This is what it is. People are so wrapped up and consumed by instant gratification and keeping up with the Joneses and not worrying about their rights. When all of those things, see, the government that is big enough to make all of those things happy or happen and make you happy in having those things, that means they're big enough to take them all away. In fact, when all of that comes to fruition, they've already taken all of that stuff away. It's just a matter of time before you realize it. Mm-hmm. Because one day you'll wake up, you will not have the bigliest of bigly houses or the fastly of fastliest cars.
Sure. And here's the thing. If Trump were to become president, we'd have to dig up Dr. Seuss to be a speechwriter, because that's the only type of writing that he'd be able to digest. It'd be the only thing that he'd be willing to read. If Hillary Clinton became president, which she most likely will, we're going to have to dig up Vladimir Lenin. Vladimir Lenin, so that they can sit there and talk about the good days of being lawyers and fighting to screw over everyone, and to say that from their lofty perch that somehow they can make society better because they know better. You see, folks, that's the deal. This entire debate was not a debate. It was a competition to see who is the biggest jerk who can be president. And I hate to say that. I hate to say that that is the current state of this nation, but it's where we are. Why? Because so many people wanted to treat this like a professional wrestling match, or they wanted to make it a drinking contest. We're going to go out and vote for the guy that I'd have the most drinks with because, hey, even the designated driver has to be drunk. It's more fun that way. Except that the car that's going to be careening off that precarious cliff is our nation. The passengers that are going to be threatened with death are not only we the people, but our rights. And as we have said before, without our rights, we are left with nothing. And for those of you who now, only now, have pulled your head from your posterior long enough to realize that, hey, maybe this Trumpy character isn't presidential or isn't great. Why didn't you do that a year ago? Why didn't you pay attention? Well, now it's too little, too late.
And we said it would be. We said it would be.
With that said, it is time for us to begin our descent. I'm going to go ahead and send the flight attendant back. No, I'm just going to push her out of the plane. I'm not going to send her back. We don't need more alcohol. This was bad enough. As always, folks, I'm your captain, Randy Wright, and I want to thank you for choosing to fly the Wright Flyer. I've been joined by my first officer, Jeremy Grapington. We invite you to leave any questions, comments, or concerns you may have, either here at Google or YouTube or Facebook, or you can follow us on Twitter with the Twitter handle at Radio Aviation EX. One more time, folks, that's at Radio Aviation EX. There you will find the departure board that lists my Twitter account, Jeremy's Twitter account, our Blogspot page, and the Cafe Press account, which I do need to go and add that to the description on this one, and I will do that. Tell them a little bit about that.
Well, as alluded to earlier, I'm thinking we're going to have some new bumper stickers and new trinkets and various different novelties. Hell, Randy, why don't we just put that along with some other slogans that we've come up with on that stuff? So we'll have a wide array of novelties and gifts where people can show their support for themselves, first and foremost, to their friends saying, hey, I'm a first-class passenger. Well, you can do that with a hat or a T-shirt, hoodie, whatever the case is, or even a bumper sticker with a first-class passenger logo. Or if you want to be traditional and just go with the original Wright Flyer logo that we have here, you can do that too. But, folks, coming soon will be those aforementioned bumper stickers where looting is nothing more than undocumented shopping.
Yeah, and we won't let you undocument while you're shopping with us. It all has to be documented.
Yes.
As always, folks, thank you for flying with us. We'll see you next time. Do take care.